With Greg Lawless, I'm Jason Sagini. The playoff teams are set, but there's still a lot up in the air. This is the final playoff push. Before we get into what's going on, Greg, let's take a look at how everyone sits going into the weekend.
Well, the Western Conference actually hasn't changed. It's the LA Galaxy at top, Seattle Sounders at number 2, and Real Salt Lake holding at number 3 for now. We'll get to that in a second. In the Eastern Conference, Sporting Kansas City on top, Philadelphia Union, who have finished out their season, they're in second place, and the Columbus Crew just a point behind in third. In the wild card race right now, FC Dallas are in the top wild card position, followed by the Colorado Rapids. The New York Red Bulls move up into the third wild card position with that win over Philadelphia, and the Houston Dynamo holding on to that last wild card spot to finish out all of the playoff contention ramifications.
Well, you mentioned the New York Red Bulls. Earlier this week, we were asking if they were still alive. That question has been answered, and they are our movers. By virtue of a 1-0 victory over the Philadelphia Union on Thursday night, the New York Red Bulls now take up that final playoff spot.
And there was a lot of question going into this game, Jason. They were going to be without Thierry Henry because of that red card that he picked up against Sporting over the weekend. No problem. Hans Backe has taken a lot of heat recently about some of the decisions he's made, but he made the right one on Thursday, pushing Dane Richards up into the forward position, and Richards was the one with the decisive header that led to the own goal off of Farid Mondragon, got them the 1-0 victory. The Red Bulls into the playoffs. I think they're going to be very dangerous once they get into the postseason.
All right, let's move on to the missed opportunities this week. On Wednesday night, Portland and DC played one of the most exciting games of the MLS season, but in the end, the 1-1 result was not enough.
It was an incredible final 15 minutes as both teams went back and forth looking to get the winner. It ended up 1-1, and yeah, you have to say really, I think Portland ended up missing the opportunity more than anything. If they had gotten the victory, it would have put a lot more pressure on New York to go after a win against Philadelphia. Instead, all the Red Bulls needed was the draw, and they looked very calm and composed knowing that that was all they needed.
Okay, we finally know all 10 teams. Let's take a look at the final verdict. So we know the 10 teams, but the final seeding is very much up in the air going into this final weekend.
Yeah, and Jason, basically the verdict is still out on the Eastern Conference right now. 3 teams still have a shot to actually finish first in the Eastern Conference. Sporting Kansas City, right now, they're in pole position. The Columbus Crew could also get there, and the Houston Dynamo. In the Western Conference, LA and Seattle, they've already secured their positions. LA at top, Seattle at number 2. But Salt Lake and FC Dallas could flip-flop between that third position in the Western Conference and that top wildcard spot.
All right, so let's take a look at the games to watch this weekend. Plenty of games to watch this weekend that will affect the playoff seeding. Let's start in DC, where Sporting comes to town, trying to finish first place in the Eastern Conference.
If they get the 3 points, first is theirs, and they're bringing that dynamic attack. Bravo, Bunbury, Kamara, don't forget Graham Zusi, and the rookie CJ Sapong making a return to the place where he grew up.
All right, well, Kansas City looking to get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Another team that's pretty good at home is going to have to do it on the road. That's the Columbus Crew. They are going to Chicago, but Columbus, depending on the Sporting result, could finish first place.
Yeah, they could. And you know what? They struggled through September, didn't get a single win, but now they've had 2 straight victories. The key, Andres Mendoza, who now is at 13 goals on the season. He's been scoring in bunches lately.
One more game to mention, the Houston Dynamo playing their final regular season game at Robertson Stadium on Sunday.
And if they get a victory, depending on how Sporting and Columbus do, if those 2 lose, the Dynamo will actually finish first in the Eastern Conference.
I'm going to throw in one more game here. FC Dallas takes on the San Jose Earthquakes. Dallas looking to jump into that 3rd spot in the Western Conference. It's actually the 3rd spot overall in the standings, which could mean an automatic berth to the Champions League, depending on how the playoffs shake out. And also in that game, Chris Wondolowski going for the Golden Boot.
He's 1 behind Dwayne De Rosario of DC United right now at 15 goals. If he gets 2, which he did earlier this year against FC Dallas, he will become repeat Golden Boot winner, the first in MLS history.
All right, that's all we have for the playoff push. Don't forget, check out all the action this weekend. Follow along on MLSsoccer.com to see where your team ends up in the playoffs. And the playoffs begin next Wednesday as 10 teams aim to win MLS Cup.